Daniel Carter walked into the billionaire's mansion expecting to repay a debt. Instead, a marriage contract was placed in front of him. "Marry my daughter." Daniel frowned. "I'm here to return the money I borrowed, not marry your daughter." The billionaire smiled. "The money was never the reason I brought you here." Daniel pushed the contract away. "Then why me?" The old man leaned forward. His next words made Daniel's blood run cold. "Because 26 years ago your father stole something that belonged to my family." Daniel froze. "My father died when I was 8. The billionaire slowly slid an old photograph across the table. It showed two young men standing side by side. One was the billionaire. The other was Daniel's father. Behind them stood a little girl. The billionaire placed his finger on the child. "That's my daughter." Then, he pointed at another little boy standing beside her. Daniel's heart stopped. It was him. He stared at the photo in disbelief. "I've never seen this picture before." The billionaire's eyes darkened. "Of course you haven't. Because someone spent 20 years making sure you never remembered." Daniel looked up. "What are you talking about?" The billionaire stood and walked toward the fireplace. "I didn't force this marriage to save my company. I forced it because someone has been hunting both our families for decades." Daniel laughed nervously. "This has to be some kind of joke." The billionaire slowly turned around. "I wish it was." He reached into a safe hidden behind a painting, then placed a thick classified file on the table. Across the front, 3 words were stamped in bold red letters: Project Phoenix. Daniel had no idea that opening that file would reveal a secret so horrifying it would make him question every memory of his childhood. And before the night was over, he would discover that marrying the billionaire's daughter wasn't his punishment. It was the only thing keeping him alive. Daniel stared at the file. His hands refused to move. The billionaire watched him carefully. "Open it." Daniel swallowed. "I don't think I want to." "You need to. Because once you leave this house, there's no going back." Slowly, Daniel opened the file. The very first page made his stomach tighten. It wasn't financial records. It wasn't business documents. It was his birth certificate. Daniel frowned. "What?" He looked closer. Then his eyes widened. The names listed under father and mother were completely unfamiliar. He blinked repeatedly. This isn't mine." The billionaire remained silent. Daniel pulled his own wallet from his pocket. He compared the 2 documents. Same birthday, same hospital, same baby footprint, same identification number. Only one thing was different: the names. Daniel looked up. "My parents," the billionaire interrupted, "are not the people who raised you." Silence. Daniel slowly stood. No, that's impossible. "My parents died in a car accident." "So I was told." The billionaire nodded. "So were you." Daniel's breathing became uneven. "What are you saying?" The billionaire walked toward the giant window overlooking the city. "I'm saying, your entire life has been built on a lie." Daniel slammed the file shut. "Enough. I won't listen to this." He turned toward the door. "I'm leaving." Just as his hand reached the handle, the mansion's security alarm suddenly blared. Several bodyguards rushed into the room. "Sir, they're outside." The billionaire didn't panic. "How many?" "At least 15 vehicles." Daniel frowned. "Who?" One of the guards looked terrified. "They found him." The room fell silent. Daniel looked around in confusion. "Found who?" Every guard in the room looked directly at him. The billionaire closed his eyes. "I was afraid this day would come." Daniel's heartbeat quickened. "What is happening?" Without answering, the billionaire walked to another painting. He pressed a hidden button. The entire bookshelf slid sideways, revealing a secret underground passage. Daniel stared in disbelief. "A tunnel?" The billionaire nodded. "I built it 20 years ago, for this exact moment." Daniel shook his head. "This doesn't make any sense." "It will, but only if you stay alive long enough to hear the truth." Outside, gunshots suddenly echoed through the mansion. Glass shattered downstairs. The head of security shouted, "They're inside." The billionaire grabbed Daniel by the arm. "Listen to me carefully. They're not here for my money. They're not here for my daughter. They're here for you." Daniel's face turned pale. "Me? I don't even know these people." "You don't," the billionaire replied, "but they know exactly who you are." Daniel's voice trembled. "Who am I?" The billionaire looked him straight in the eyes. "The answer is the reason I forced you to marry my daughter." Just then, a young woman came running into the room. She was breathtakingly beautiful, but her face was filled with fear. Dad! They've breached the East Wing. She suddenly noticed Daniel. Their eyes met. She froze. The color drained from her face. She whispered, "It can't be." Daniel frowned. "What?" A tear rolled down her cheek. "I know you." Daniel shook his head. "No, we've never met." She slowly reached into her pocket, pulled out an old, faded photograph, and handed it to him. Daniel looked at it. His heart stopped. It was the same photograph, the one the billionaire had shown him, except this one had something written on the back. In childish handwriting, it read, "Best friends forever. Daniel and Isabella. Summer 2005. Daniel looked up at the young woman. She whispered through trembling lips, "I'm Isabella, your childhood best friend." But she disappeared. Daniel couldn't breathe. He stared at the photograph in Isabella's trembling hands, then at her, then back at the picture. "I'm Daniel?" Isabella nodded through tears. "You used to call me Bella. You promised we'd never leave each other." Daniel shook his head. I don't remember any of this." Mr. Harrison, the billionaire, slowly closed the secret tunnel door behind them. "You don't remember because they made sure you wouldn't." Daniel frowned. "They?" Mr. Harrison looked at him with deep regret. "The men who murdered your real parents." Silence. Daniel's legs nearly gave out. "My real parents?" Mr. Harrison nodded. "They weren't killed in an accident. They were executed." Daniel felt the room spinning. "No, they discovered something they were never supposed to see." "What?" Mr. Harrison reached into the old file one last time. He removed a faded envelope sealed with wax. "I promised your father I would never open this, unless you were old enough." He handed it to Daniel. Written across the front were the words, "For my son." Daniel's fingers trembled as he broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten letter. "My son, if you're reading this, then your mother and I are already gone. Please don't hate us. Everything we did to save your life." Daniel's eyes blurred with tears. He continued reading. "The people hunting us aren't businessmen. They're not politicians. They're a secret organization that controls governments, corporations, and billions of dollars around the world. Your mother uncovered proof that they had assassinated innocent people for profit. The day they found out, they came for us." Daniel's breathing became heavier. The letter continued, "Richard Harrison was my best friend. When I realized we couldn't escape, I begged him to take you, but there was only one way to keep you hidden. We erased your identity. We gave you another family. We made you forget us." A tear fell onto the paper. Daniel whispered, "My whole life was fake." Mr. Harrison slowly nodded. "I'm sorry." Daniel looked up. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because they were watching. They believed you died with your parents. But last month, someone discovered the truth." Daniel suddenly understood. The forced marriage. Mr. Harrison nodded. "It wasn't about business. It was about bringing you back into my family where I could protect you." Isabella stepped closer. "Dad wanted you close because he promised your father he'd never let anything happen to you." Daniel looked at her. "You knew?" She nodded. "I've known since I was 18. I wanted to tell you so many times, but every time I tried, Dad stopped me. He said if you remembered too early, they'd kill you." Daniel slowly reached for her hand. "I'm sorry. I don't remember you." Isabella smiled sadly. "You will. Maybe not today, but one day, you'll make new memories with me." Before Daniel could answer, the mansion shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. The head of security burst into the room. "Sir, they've broken through." Mr. Harrison looked toward the tunnel. "It's time." Daniel grabbed his arm. "No, we leave together." Mr. Harrison smiled. "I can't. They aren't here for me. They're here to erase the last witness." He looked directly at Daniel. "You." Daniel refused. "I'm not leaving you." Mr. Harrison placed both hands on Daniel's shoulders. "I failed your father once. I won't fail him again." He turned to Isabella. "Take your husband, and don't ever come back." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "Dad, I love you." Mr. Harrison smiled. "I know." He kissed her forehead one last time, then locked the heavy steel tunnel door behind them. Daniel pounded on it. "Open the door, please." Mr. Harrison's voice echoed through the speaker. "Daniel, you asked me why I chose you. The answer was never, because I needed a husband for my daughter. I chose you because you were already my son. The connection went silent. Seconds later, gunfire echoed through the mansion. Then another explosion. And another. The tunnel shook violently. Isabella collapsed to her knees, crying uncontrollably. Daniel held her tightly as tears streamed down his own face. Neither of them needed to be told. They already knew. Mr. Harrison had kept his promise. 1 year later, every member of the secret organization had been exposed. The evidence hidden in Daniel's father's letter, combined with the files Mr. Harrison protected, led to arrests across several countries. Politicians, executives, crime bosses. Their empire finally crumbled. Daniel and Isabella refused to inherit the billionaire fortune. Instead, they sold nearly everything. The money was donated to charities, orphanages, and families whose lives had been destroyed by the organization. They moved to a quiet coastal town where nobody knew their names. No bodyguards, no secrets, no fear, just peace. One evening, Daniel and Isabella visited two graves side by side. One belonged to Daniel's parents, the other to Richard Harrison. Daniel placed fresh white lilies on each grave. He smiled softly. I finally know who I am. Isabella slipped her hand into his. And you finally came home. Daniel looked at the sunset. My father once wrote that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by the people willing to die so you can live. He looked down at Mr. Harrison's headstone. You kept your promise. Thank you, Dad. The waves crashed gently against the shore. For the first time in 20 years, the truth was no longer hidden. The lies were buried, and the family that had once been torn apart had finally found peace. If this story kept you hooked from beginning to end, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my stories for more unforgettable dramas, shocking betrayals, and emotional love stories.